All right, let's have a look at this third angle orthographic sectional question. They've given us a top view, a front view, and a left view of the clamp base with a cutting plane SS. You can see that on that left view over there. And they've given us a starting point A, which is on this thing over here. Right, draw to scale 2:1 in third angle orthographic projection. That means that whatever measurements are here, we are going to be doubling on. Okay, so my suggestion is go through this whole drawing first and change all those dimensions. Right, as you can see, I have changed all those dimensions into scale 2:1. In other words, I multiplied everything by 2. Okay, don't feel scared about using a calculator. It's not embarrassing. So 17 multiplied by 2 equals 34. Just to write that in, 34. That 8 times by 2, that would be 16. Don't stress about what people think of your mathematical ability. It really doesn't matter. Right. Okay, once you've done that, then start your drawing. I'm going to take this, I'm going to draw some construction lines over here, construction line coming all the way across over there, and a construction line coming all the way down over here. Right, we're going to start out by drawing the length of this thing. It says that it is 94 millimeters. Let's just take a pair of dividers quickly and measure off 94 millimeters. Right. That's sorted out, 94 on there, and I've got a pair of compasses, not a pair of dividers. Right, there we go, there's 94. I'm going to drop a line coming down through both the top view and the front view because they both have the same length. Right, once I've done that, I'm going to start out and try and figure out the distance over here. It says 56 millimeters. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is to first of all figure out what the from that point A, it says it's 38 millimeters going up there, so I'm going to measure off 38 millimeters to start with. 38 millimeters, mark that off over there. Let's just draw a line coming across quickly. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to find the center of that very quickly by drawing a 45-degree line there and a 45-degree line over there. Once I've got that, I can now draw a line coming across over here. And I can also find the center of this story over here. I'm just going to use this 30-degree. It'll be easier for you guys to see. I'm going to take a line going up at this 30-degree angle over here and a 30-degree angle going over there. Right, and that should give you the position in the center of this thing as to where that is. It says 46. Let's just measure off. Sorry, 46 millimeters does actually give you a measurement. 46. Pretty sure it'll probably be smack in the middle of this thing, which is over there. Yeah. Okay, 46 millimeters. That is where the centers of those two circles are. Make sure that you drop that down into both of these views over here. After you've done that, you then need to measure out at least the 56 millimeters. Okay, so 56 divided by 2, that would be 28. You've got that measurement there already, 28 millimeters. Go into the center over here and measure off that 28 millimeters from the center and 28 millimeters from that center. Right, that gives you the center to those two center lines. Right, once I've got that, draw in your center lines. Nice long dash, sorry, let's get some lead in this pencil. Long dash, short dash, long dash over there, long dash, short dash, long dash over there. Get this done. Nice long dash, short dash, long dash, short dash, long dash over there. Just going to do some more long dash, short dash, long dash, short dash, long dash. Okay, I've now got the centers, and I now take my circle pencil and I'm going to take the 6 millimeter circle that I need over here. 3, 4, 5, 6, that is this one over here. I think that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the one over there. That's it. Just check that you've got the right circle that you're going to use there. And we're going to draw in our 6mm diameter circle over there. Shift it up over here. Get that lined up beautifully on those center lines. Draw that in beautifully over there. Right. The next circle that they say, we've got a radius over here, a radius of 6mm. That's a diameter of 12. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find the 12mm circle. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's that one over there. Okay, let's just get that all lined up beautifully on those lines over there. Bring it down. And I'm going to start with a construction line first. Don't draw it in dark because we need to put some tangent lines to that. Draw a construction line circle beautifully on there. Okay, once we've got that, I can now look at this space over here. It says that it is a 47mm space going across over here. Let's just take that 47 multiplied by 2 is equal to 94. Okay, sorry, that's not the. It's 12mm. Sorry, that space over there, it's 12mm. Okay, so that would be 24mm. So it's 12mm on either side of this thing. Let's get that 12mm sorted out here. Knock that in over there. Make a little mark on that side. Make a little mark on that side. I can take that up into the drawing over here, onto that, and to that over there. So I've got it on both sides, and I can now draw in my tangent lines to that circle. Okay, so I've got a tangent going from there to there. I've got a tangent going from there to there. Note, it is a tangent. It is not going to the center line. Same story over here. Draw a tangent going to that circle over there, and a tangent going to that circle, or that arc at least, not circle. Sorry, just really struggling here this morning. There we go. And once I've done that, I can now come back with my 12mm circle and draw in that little arc so that it links up perfectly to my tangents. Right, there we go. Take that up there, get that sorted out on that. Draw that little arc in there so that it links up perfectly on that. Right, okay, once I've done that, I can then draw out to point A, a nice line going all the way across there, line going all the way across over there, line coming back over here, line going back over there. Okay, it says that I need to measure out 18mm over there, measuring with a pair of dividers. Just get that, 18mm. Right, take that back over here, draw in a line going all the way across over there. Let's just go that way, there we go. Okay, this thing over here, it says that that is 12mm going back there. Let's go over here, 12mm going back over here. Let's do that. And I can draw a line going all the way across there. So pencil across. It says, now this part over here is getting quite tricksy. Okay, I'm going to just do this story over here so that you can see where I get these measurements from. It's going to take a line coming across over there. I'm going to take a line going up over here from that edge over there. I'm going to take a line going at, sorry, not there. Let's try that again. From that edge over there, take a 45-degree line going across over here, and from that I'll be able to find out what these measurements are at the back over here. So that goes across there, that goes across there. Let's drop that down into this view, and hopefully I can get a measurement that I don't have on that top view. So there we go, that part, and you can see that that part is that 10mm gap, which is a 20mm gap. So I need to measure off 10mm, measuring 10mm quickly with the story. I've got that center line that I marked out. I'm going to put 10mm on that side, 10mm on that side, And I can now draw in that little line going across there, and over there. And I can then draw in a line which is going to go through the center over there. Okay, so bang, there's that line going through the center over there. I need to figure out what this little hidden detail part is over here. Let's just take that across into this drawing over here. Let's just find the color over here. So hidden detail coming across there, a hidden detail coming across there. And I'll drop that down into this view over here to find out what that hidden detail is. There it is, and there it is. Sorry, let's just get that a little bit more accurately done. Okay, there's that little circle over there. It says that it is a diameter of 6 millimeters. Okay, if I've got that diameter of 6 millimeters, well, I can take my circle stencil, get that diameter of 6 on the drawing. Let's just find that. There it is. I'm going to line that circle stencil up there, draw a little arc on that side, draw a little arc on that side, and I can now draw in those 6 millimeter parts. I'm going to use a 0.5 pencil over here to do the hidden detail. Okay, here we go. Little dashes going across over here. Take that. Right, there's that hidden detail. I think that I'm meant to have some hidden detail on the other side of this thing over here as well. Okay, I don't yet have where I need to stop it, so let me just figure that out. This little gap over here says that it is going to be, that will be 6 millimeters over there. Let's just write that in before we carry on. So that would be 6 millimeters over there. Let's measure that off quickly over here. 6 mils. Take that, knock that in over there, and I can draw in a construction line coming down over here. This construction line coming down over there. Right, once I've got that, I can put in that hidden detail that I was busy with. Let's just do that quickly. Hidden detail coming across here. And hidden detail over here. Right, there's that little bit of hidden detail. They haven't really shown it very well there, but okay, once I've got that, I should really put in a center line coming through here. Just get my 0.3 pencil and draw a long dash, short dash, 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 long dash over there. Okay. Right, once we've got that in place, I need to draw, measure out the 28 millimeter gap over there. All right, let's just write that in. I didn't write that in. 28 millimeters over here. That would be 14 millimeters on either side. Set up here it comes up. 14 millimeters. That's that. Come into that center over there. Mark that off over there. Mark that off over there. And I can now and look at this. It says that that would be 16 millimeters. That would be 16 millimeters, 1, 6, okay, 8 millimeters on either side of that story. Take my 8 millimeters, there's 8 millimeters, come in over here, measure that off, there, and there, all right. Okay, let's just draw in some construction lines quickly to get this thing done. There and there. Right, that goes back 16 millimeters over there. So let's just measure off 16 millimeters quickly. 16 millimeters going back from that point to there. Is that right? No, sorry, from there to there. That's the 16 millimeters over there. I need to just draw in a construction line over there. And obviously that's going to be, that says 26 millimeters going back from there. Let's get 26 millimeters going back from there. 26 millimeters. Let's just draw in a construction line over there. And I can now draw in the lines that I need. A line going from there to there. A line going from Let's just see this story over here. Tick, 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 tick. From there to there. Right. Line coming over here. From there to there. Line going from there to there. Right. This is going to come in over here to that line. Oh dear, sorry, I've made a mistake here. That goes from there to there. That goes from there to there. That's very different. Right, I need to just erase a small part of this thing. Right, let's just take that out. Quickly over there. And concentrate. There we go, just rub out that. Rub out that. Sorry about that. Right, as soon as you've rubbed stuff out, make sure that you go back and fix up the lines that got wrecked. Okay. Right, once you've got that, let's just draw a little line coming down over there, and a little line coming down over here, and a little line coming up over here, and a line coming across over here, and another one over here. Right, and this thing can then have a line going from there to there. Right, that's everything I think that we need to have on that view. Right, okay, let's move on to the next view. I'm going to draw a line coming out over here, structure line coming out over there. I'm going to say, all right, I want a gap of about that between the views. So I'm going to drop a line coming down over there, and that is where my view over here is going to start. So that little point over there is going to be somewhere along there. Okay, and with that, I can now draw in a 45-degree line over here. Let's just draw in a nice, decent line. I'm going to draw it in a little bit darker than I normally would. This would normally be a construction line going up here at that 45 degrees. I can now take all this information that I've accumulated of this, all these measurements over here. I can now start taking that across into this new drawing. I'm going to take this line going across, and it touches the 45, and I drop that down into my view over here. Right, let's just take that all the way down. I can then take these lines coming across over here, from there, and from here, and I can drop those down into the view over here, there, and over there. So that distance is now in the drawing. That distance is now in the drawing. We are going to start our view over there. Note the little gap that I've got over here between the two views, and I can now start measuring down. It says that I need to measure down 15 plus another 3. That would be 36 millimeters going down. Let's measure that off quickly. 36 millimeters, 36, there we go. Come into my drawing over here, mark that off over there, and I can draw in a nice solid line going across the base over here. Let's just do that. There we go, that goes all the way across from there to there. Right, once I've got that, I can say, all right, I need to measure up 6 millimeters here. 6 millimeters, knock that in over here, and I can draw in a line going from there to there, and from there to there. I can draw in a nice line going up over there, a line going up over there. I can draw lines going all the way up to the top over here, from there to there, and from there to there. I can take these lines coming across from that line over there, and from that line over there. I can drop that down into my view over here. So I've got that gap over there in the center. I can then draw in a line coming across over here, from there to there, and from there to there. Right, once I've got that, it says that this thing goes down 5 millimeters. Right, so let's measure off 5 millimeters, which is 10 millimeters on my drawing. 5 millimeters down from there. Let's mark that off and draw in a construction line going across at that point. Right, I need to find that center over there. Let's take that across with a slightly different color, I think. There's the center. Drop that down into my drawing over here, and I can now draw in these lines that are going to hook up with that at that funny angle. There we go, and there we go. Oops. Right, I'm just going to erase that horrible line that I just drew there and do that again. If you make a mistake like that, just fix it straight away and life will be much better. Right, okay, once we've got that, I can then continue over here. I've got these center lines over there. Let's drop those into the drawing. Here's a center line, that, and there is a center line, and I'm going to drop that into this drawing over here and drop that into the center line over there, and I take my 0.3 pencil and put in a long dash, short dash, long dash over there, coming across over here, long dash, short dash, long dash over there. Right, once I've got those centers in place, I now need to measure down the 10 millimeters. I've got that already. I need to measure down that 9 millimeters, which is 18 millimeters over there. Let's go 18 millimeters. 18 millimeters coming from the top over here. Bang that in over there. Let's just do that again. There we go, and I can now draw in a nice solid line going across over here. That goes across there. Right. Okay, we need to find that center over there. It says that it is 14 plus the 12. Okay, 14 plus 12. Okay, 26 millimeters. 26 millimeters going down from the top. You see that to that center over there. So from there to there, that is where I need that center to be. Right, draw in the center lines over here. Long dash, short dash, long dash over there. And a nice long dash, short dash, long dash, short dash, long dash, short dash, long dash over there. Short dash, long dash over there. Right, and while I'm at it, I'm just going to put in my section line. So here we go, darken in, take my 0.3 pencil, draw a line approximately 15 millimeters out there. A nice dark line, don't make it light. Nice dark line going out there. Right, take your pencil, draw in the arrow over here as fast as you can, draw in the arrow over there as fast as you can, and you can then label that with an S and an S over there, showing that I'm looking in that direction to cut this in half. I need to draw in that little circle. Let's get my circle stencil. It says that it is a 6 millimeter diameter circle. So I find that 6 millimeter circle, and I'm going to draw that in quickly. There we go, that's that done. All right, we've got these lines over here that we need to take across into the drawing. Just some construction lines. Let's find a different color. So that part needs to come across over there. 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 And I can now drop that down into the drawing over here. Drop that down into the drawing over there. Drop that down into the drawing over there. And drop that down into the drawing over there. Those are hidden detail lines. Just going to use a 0.5 pencil over here and draw in the hidden detail. Little short dashes going up here. short dashes going up over here. Note, it's not a chain line. It is hidden detail, which is just little dashes going up. Little dashes going up to get that hidden detail in place. Right, okay, I have now got a left view and a top view, and I'm going to be looking at the cut through this thing. All right, I want you to also see this. You don't need to draw this in. I'm going to do it on my drawing just to show it to you. Note the cutting plane. Okay, I'm going to put that cutting plane on this view as well. Please, you do not need to do this. This is just to get you to understand the idea of my cutting plane. I'm going to draw in a line going over here and a line going over there, and you can then see the cutting plane on both views, the left view and the top view. Okay, normally you only put it onto the one view, but there it is, SS, SS. Okay, so there it is in that view, there it is in that view. Okay, let's have a look at this. I think it's easier to actually see what's going on with the SS on this view, funnily enough. You can see I'm cutting through, and there's going to be a hole that I cut through. Okay, that hole is going through over here as well. There's a hole over here that I'm going to be going through. There's that hidden detail there showing that hole. So just be aware of that sort of stuff. This over here is a nice big gap. You can see there's the big gap over there. So there's going to be no hatching in that part when we come to doing this thing. Right, let's start. I'm going to use all these measurements over here that we've got. I'm going to take a construction line across there, a construction line coming across there, a construction line coming across there, over here, and I've got one at the top. I'm going to take that hole across over there. That's very important. That hole coming across over there, and I'm now going to start. Right. The base of this thing goes from there to there, right, and from there going up to the top over here. Right, that's quite important. Okay, can you see there's the top of that, there's the top of that part. Coming across over here, this is going to come down over here, all right, and then it drops down that 14. I don't know whether I've got that in here yet. I haven't drawn that part in just yet. I need to measure down that 14. Let's measure that 14 millimeters coming down. There's 14 millimeters coming down over here. Let's just make a little mark over there and draw a construction line coming across over here for both views. Right, that's going across there, and I'm going to draw in this line coming across here as well. Okay, this little part over here, I'm just going to drop a construction line coming down from that part. Okay, this part I come out. Let's just do that. I just need my pencil coming across over there. Sorry, wrong pencil. Let's try the right pencil for that. There we go, 1.7, and a line coming across over there. Right, this little part over here, that's very interesting. What is that gap over there? That should be 5 millimeters. That should be 10 millimeters. Sorry, I made a mistake over here. This line needs to come down all the way to there. Sorry, I made a mistake. Again, rubbing out again. I can't believe it. Right, there we go. Right, this comes down over here to the 14 millimeter line that I just drew. Okay, but you can see that I'm cutting through this little V over here, so I'm going to have a line going across there to show that edge. Right, I can come out over here. That's that little piece sticking out there. I then come down to the top of this thing. That's over there. And I then draw a line coming all the way across over here. Right. And I can draw a line going all the way across the base over here. That's quite important. And now I start looking at where I start cutting. Okay, I'm going to have a line coming all the way down over there. That is that little line coming down over there. I'm going to have a line that is going to come down over here. All right, now you'll see that that line is not being cut. I'm actually physically seeing the corner over there. So that corner A is represented by that line over there. I'm not cutting through, I've got an edge over here, okay? And I'm going to be able to see that edge where I'm cutting over there. I'm going to have this circle part over here. There is my circle edges. Remember the edges of the circle, because I have an edge created. I can put in that center line straight away. Long dash, short dash, long dash over there. All right. I need to come across over here. I'm going to have a dark line coming down over there for that corner over there. I'm going to come across over here, and I'm going to have a dark line coming down over here because of the corner that I've got at the corner over there. And I'm going to have a circle. There's my circle. I'm going to have a line coming across over there. A line coming across over there for the circle. And I need to put in the center line over there with my 0.3 pencil. Long dash, short dash, long dash, short dash, long dash over there. And that is everything done for that note. I cannot see this part over here, it has been cut away, but I can still show a center line for this circle at the back over there. Long dash, short dash, long dash over there. You can put that in just to show the person that there is a center that's being drilled on that. Once I've done that, I can then take my set square and I can do the hatching on this. Right, take my 0.3 pencil and I come across this thing, drawing little lines over here, there, and I start with that one, a little bit there, a little bit there, over there, and over there, and over there. Note that part is being cut through. This part is a hole, so don't hatch this part. Come across to this, hatch that, there, there, and there. That is the hatching done on that view. All right, that's that drawing done. All right, let's have a look at this third angle orthographic projection over here. They've asked us to look at the top and the front view. There's the top view, there's the front view of this casting. They say that you've got a cutting plane SS and a cutting plane TT, okay? They say that the position of A, there's the starting point, okay? And it says draw to a scale 1:2. You'll note that I've gone through the entire drawing and I have divided all those measurements by 2. You'll also see that I've got some brackets over here, and you'll see that I've divided the 55 over there, which was half of the 110, so that I can get a distance on either side of 27.5 over there, and that'll just help me to get things sorted. Over here it says AF, that is across the flat. So from that point to that point is going to be basically half of that, half going from there to there, from there to there. You'll see that I've got that 19.25. Right, let's start with this, and I'm going to take my pair of compasses. There we go, and I'm going to start out by drawing some center lines to start with. Sorry, let's just start with that. Let's get the set square sorted out and draw in a long dash, short dash, 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 long dash, going down there. And I'm going to come all the way up here, and I'm going to do long dash, short dash, 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 long dash, going all the way across there. I can then start with that circle in the center. It says that it is a 24 millimeter diameter, so I have got a diameter of 24 on my circle stencil here. Let's line that up over there, line that up over there, and draw that in immediately with a nice dark circle going around like that. Right, once I've got that in place, I need to draw the octagon over here. It says that it is 77 across the flats. That would be 38.5, and half of that would be 19.25. I'm going to set a pair of compasses to 19.25. I'm going to come in over here, and I'm just going to draw a little circle going around there, a construction line circle. You can see that I've done that in red. I now take my set square, and I'm going to then draw in some construction lines that you'll be able to see in a tick. There we go. A construction line at 45 degrees there, to a construction line like that. Swing that round, a construction line like that, a construction line like that. You can see that I've got a little square happening around there, and I'm going to draw a construction line coming down like that, a construction line coming down like that, and if I take that up over here, I have a construction line coming across like that, and a construction line coming across like that. And at the end of the day, can you see the two squares? If you look at this distance across the flats over there is going to be my 38.5. Distance across the flats over there is going to be my 38.5. And you'll see that I can now link that up and draw in that octagon very quickly. Just doing lines going over there, come up to the top, line coming across over here. Take this down, line going at 45 degrees there, a line going at 45 degrees there, swing that around, a line going at 45 degrees over here, a line going at 45 degrees over there, and a line going down at 90 degrees coming straight down, 90 degrees coming straight down there, and there we go. I have got my octagon perfectly put away. Right, the next distance that I need is a square with 110, that would be 55, which works out to 27.5 millimeters. Set my pair of compasses to 27.5 millimeters. There we go. Knock that in over here. I'm going to make a little circle coming around, and again I can draw a construction line coming down over here, a construction line coming down over there, construction line going across over there, a construction line coming across over there, and I can then start drawing lines going from there down to there, construct a nice dark line going down from there down to there, and a line coming across from there to there, and a line coming across from there to there. Right, that's that done. It then tells me that these little blocks over here, they are 24 millimeter, and that would be 12 millimeters. So I find my 12 millimeter circle stencil. I'm going to knock this in over here. There we go. And I can take a little construction line on little arc on that side, little arc on that side, and bring it up over here. Let's just draw a little arc on either side of this center line. There we go. Little arc there, little arc there. And with those arcs, I can now draw in the lines going up over here. There's that arc over there. And I need one on that side. And over there. That, line that up on the little arc that I've got over here. There. Top here. Come in over here. Have a little line coming across over there. Line coming across over there. Draw that over there. Take a line coming across. Take a line coming across. Right, that's the little web pieces. Once you've got that, I just need to look at this story over here. This story over here, let's just have a look and see what's happening over here. It says that this is 26 millimeters coming across over there to that. So I need to measure off 26 millimeters. 26 millimeters, let's go in here. 26, that would be 13 millimeters. 13 millimeters coming across over here. Knock that in over there. All right, and that is linked up with the what's his name in there, so I can draw a hidden detail line going back over here. Little dashes going back over there. That's that, okay. I need that same distance on the other side. So I go to my center line, swing that around over there, mark that off, and do hidden detail coming down there. Hidden detail coming down over there. Right, and I've got hidden detail in there as well, so I've got that point over there, some hidden detail coming down over here. And same story over here, hidden detail coming down over there as well. Right, there's everything done on that. And I can now move on to my putting it in a section line. I'm just going to draw in, darken in that, and darken in that. And I'm going to draw in a line with a 0.3 pencil. Nice line coming down. It's a nice dark line, don't make them light. Nice dark line coming down, about 15 millimeters in length. And you can then take your other pencil, draw in a nice arrowhead. Just a nice thin arrowhead and a nice thin arrowhead over there. Do a nice S and a nice S over here. And there we go, there's our cutting plane done. Right, let's try and draw the top view of this thing. I mean the front view of this thing. Drawn the top view. Let's drop that down there, that down over here. Right, once you've got that in place, I need to start by giving myself a little gap at the top over here between the two views. Take that across, and I need to then measure the 15 plus the 30 plus the 14. Okay, so let's start out, and I'm going to measure 15 down over here. Start with that. Then it goes down 30, measure of 30 millimeters coming down. 30 from there. Sorry, that's 30 from there. Let's not make that sort of mistake. And 14 millimeters. 14 millimeters coming down from there. That is, let's just get that all in place. Right. So there's my 15 millimeters coming down from the top. That gives me the height to which these little pieces go. All right, that's quite important. Come down over here. That gives me the base of this thing coming across over there. And this is the very bottom of the thing coming across over there. Right. Okay, once I've got that, let us draw some lines coming down over here. I can draw a line coming right from the top down to the bottom. I'm going to draw a line from the edge of that octagon over there all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to draw a line coming across from there to there, a line going across from there to there, a line right at the bottom, definitely having a line at the bottom, definitely going to have a line going over here, a line going over there, and I'm going to have the line right up at the very top over here. There is the profile. I have webs that are coming down. Now you'll see that I have drawn a line, and you're going to go, but hang on, that's been sectioned. But then I want to remind you that you have got webs over here, and webs, we do not hatch them, even though they are being cut through. Right. It tells me that I need to measure down 60 millimeters, which is 30 millimeters on the drawing. 30 millimeters, that over there. I need to draw a little mark over there. And I'm going to draw in a construction line first. Just a little construction line coming across over there. And I'm going to draw lines, a dark line coming down. Note the edge of the circle. Edge of the circle in a section view is going to be a dark line. There's the other edge of that circle, and that's going to be a dark line coming down to there. I'm going to draw a line coming across over here. There we go. There's my circle that has been or that hole that's going in there. Right, once I've done that, I need to come down to the bottom over here. I forgot to draw in this stuff, so I just need to rub out a little section of this. Just going to rub this little piece out and we'll fix that up now. I'm going to just draw in a construction line coming up. Note that's linking up with that, and a little construction line coming up over there. Right, it needs to go up 3 millimeters. Let's measure off 3 millimeters there. 3 millimeters coming in over here. Let's pop that in over there. And a construction line coming across over there. And from that, I can draw in these construction lines coming from the hidden detail over there, that hidden detail over here, coming down, and then it goes up. It says 12, which is 6 on my drawing, 6 millimeters going up from there. Mark that off, and I can then draw in a nice dark line going across from there to there. Nice dark line going down from there to there. Nice dark line going down from there to there. Nice dark line coming across over here, across over there. Drop that down. Nice dark line there. Nice dark line there. And a nice dark line going up to that corner over there and up to that corner over there. Right, that is all done, and I can now start drawing in the sections, the hatching lines. Coming over here, take your 0.3 pencil and draw in nice thin 0.3 dark lines going, showing that hatching over here. That's over there. Hatching notes going up to the web. I don't go through the web, even though the web has been cut. That can be done there. Just need to come back over here. I think there's a little piece that can happen in there. There we go. Start there and there. Carry on going all the way. Carry on going all the way up there. Stop there. Go there. Go all the way up to the hole. There we go. Go there. Stop there. Carry on up there. Stop there. Carry on there. Go there, stop there, go there, stop there, and there. Right, moving on. That little piece there and there. This should go quite quickly now because it's just this last little piece over here that we need to finish. There we go. There's the hatching done on that. I haven't really given myself enough space to write in the section SS, S-E-C-T-I-O-N, S-S. Okay, I could have moved that up slightly, not a problem. Right, next problem to be solved is to get my 45-degree line going. I'm going to take a line coming across over here, and I'm going to say, all right, I want a gap about that distance between the two views. There, drop a line down, take a 45-degree line going out from there, and I can now take all of this information across into the new view. Right, before I do that, I have got a section TT. Right, let's just draw that in. Darken in the line over there, darken in the line over there. Draw a little 0.3 line coming across over here. 0.3 line coming across there, 0.3 line coming across there. Lengthen that a little bit more. There we go. Take your other pencil, draw in a nice dark arrow, nice thin dark arrow, a nice thin dark arrow over here. There we go. And we're going to label that T and T over here. Right, TT is in place. I'm now looking in that direction, cutting through this thing. I'm going to just show, I'm going to try and highlight that line. Note this line over here coming through. You see that pink line that I've got in there? It's a center line on your drawings. That is also showing where the TT line is going to be cutting. So it cuts through a hole over here, and it cuts through this little gap over here as well, and we're going to see that on our drawing. Right, so here we go. I'm going to take some lines coming across into the drawing from the top over here. There we go, coming across there. I can drop that down into my drawing over here. Drop that down over there, right down to the bottom of it. Yeah, there we go, all the way down to the bottom. Right, I can draw in a line going all the way across at the bottom over here. Get the right pencil to draw that with. There we go. I'm going to be able to see that corner. Can you see that corner over there? I'm going to be able to see that line coming across. I'm going to be able to see that corner over there. So I'm going to draw a line coming straight across over there. I'm going to come up to this edge over here. Now, I'm not going to draw a line going all the way across just yet because I need to figure out what it is that I can see and what I can't see. How am I going to do that? I'm going to first of all get the octagon, and I'm going to take lines coming across over here. That's the outside of the octagon over there and the outside of the octagon over there. Right, I'm going to drop that down into this drawing over here. There we go, coming down. There we go, coming down. That goes all the way to the top, so I can draw a line coming straight down from the top. Let's get the right pencil again. There we go, all the way down there. All the way down there. I'm going to draw in a line, finishing that off over there, finishing that off over there. All right, let's just go that all the way up there. I have a line. Sorry, I went too far with that, lost it. Those lines don't drop all the way down there. There we go, there we go. Let's take that down to that line over there. Draw a line coming across over there, draw a line coming across over there. Right, I'm going to draw in the little web parts coming down. There we go, coming in over here, and draw in that line going there, and this line going over here. That's that. Right, I need to draw in the line right at the top over here. I'm going to take the hole across into this drawing. Note, there's the hole coming across at that point, and whoops, at that point. And most importantly, I'm just going to highlight this. There's the center line coming across. I need a center line dropping down at that point over there. Drop that into the drawing. Center line coming down, long dash, short dash, long dash, short dash, long dash, short dash, long dash. Okay, I need the hole to be drawn in. Line coming down to that hole, line coming down to the hole, line coming across over here. There we go. A line coming across. Just going to darken that in. And there we go. That is basically everything that needs to be drawn over there. I need to do the hatching over here. There's hatching coming across from there to there to there to there. Note, not hatching the web, even though that web has been cut through. Up to the edge of the hole. And at the bottom over here, write in the section. Section T-T. There we go. That is that all sorted out.